Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to another episode of Found Footage Fridays with my co-host, Tom Harper.
We're getting further into October with a brand new found footage film.
Yeah, so which is super exciting because we've been talking about this one for a while.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people have been talking about it, waiting for this one.
Yeah.
A lot of buzz for this one to be released. Yep.
Yeah. So we're talking the 2023 found footage movie VHS 85. The synopsis for these is usually pretty
Vanilla.
Yeah, so unveiled through a made-for-TV documentary, 5 tales of found footage horror emerged to take viewers on a terrifying journey into the grim underbelly of the 1980s.
I mean, I would say that the coolest thing about this movie is how it looks, like how it's all framed, I think, and
Yeah.
the just the look of it, the whole feel, I think it's just spot on. If you were around during that time and you know what it all looked like, it felt
Very
like a
real.
real, yeah, felt very real.
Yeah. I was going to see if it listed the segments because, I'm terrible at remembering what they're called.
That's the hardest part when we talk about the VHS movies
Okay, I
on this
got
show.
it.
I can't ever remember all the episodes.
I got them. I got the list of them right here. But yeah, I mean, well, yeah, so we've been talking about this one and getting ready because we covered 99 on the channel.
Not too long ago.
Yeah, it came out, yeah, after Deadstream.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that long ago. And so yeah, what were your initial thoughts?
So some of our biggest problems with 99 were that it was too funny.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the creators listened to that, but then went too far in the other direction. And by removing everything that was funny, they also removed a lot of the personality of the movie. And I thought a lot of it was very blah. A lot of it. And
Yeah.
I will say it starts off, I think, really strong. Like really strong. And I thought, man, this is gonna be awesome. Like, where is this going? I'll leave it there for now. What did you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty underwhelmed by it. Much better in my opinion than 99, just because I mean, exactly like you said, the comedy just did not work for me. And I was terrified. Like when I posted that I was watching this, I was like, please, 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 please don't be funny. Don't be funny. Don't be funny. Like I needed it to not be like a comedy. And you're right. It definitely was not that.
No.
I think some of its weaker points for me was, these are, we always talk about found footage being like lower budget, but none of the directors for this one were first time directors. These are all people who have been in the game for a little bit as far as making and creating other things, I think, at least for a majority of it, because there was a couple of them in particular that I've seen other things by. And so
I don't think I was as tuned in this time to who the directors even were. I feel like in 99 there was a lot of buzz, like, oh, the Deadstream guy directed this one. And this one, I don't know. I still don't think I know who directed any of these.
So the one that I saw post about the most is Gigi. I apologize if I butcher this. Gigi Saul Guerrero. She has done other things. And she's somebody, I follow her on Twitter, so I'm used to seeing her and posting about stuff and or maybe Instagram. But she did the God of Death segment. The titles aren't, the titles aren't a big deal, but that's the title of it. And so anyway, but she was one. I feel like there was a Mike Nelson.
That sounds
is another one. He did 2 of the segments.
Oh, okay.
You can probably guess which 2, but anyway, I digress.
Okay.
But yeah, these were not brand new people that have never done a movie, like, you know what I mean? And so my reason for bringing that up is because there's some of these pieces of this that felt like somebody who was very new to filmmaking. Like there was some very like too low budget feeling in certain
Sure.
respects.
Sure.
And I think the other thing that I just really struggled with was the connecting story. Like the one that's supposed to be going on in between, I was like, I guess, like, I don't,
Yeah. But I thought it was going to be great. Like I thought how it
it
started.
had, it's, yeah,
That's a
it
really
started,
cool idea. And
it
then I
did.
saw them sort of trying to weave it in later on, and I was like, "Oh, that's what it means." But then it didn't quite land.
No.
I think.
And it's so, and as we talk about this too all the time, it's so frustrating when conceptually it's so good. And then
Yeah.
the execution just doesn't get us through. So this was really yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think 94 is going to be so hard to top because 94 is my favorite of the entire franchise.
94?
Yeah,
No.
that's Ratma. That's Ratma, the Android one. I'm trying to
What's the last one then? Or 99. Oh, I see.
99. Mhm.
Oh, I'm getting confused. There's
I
multiple ones from
know.
the 90s. Yeah, I already
I know.
forgot.
There's 2 from the 90s, but the
Yeah.
first one from the 90s with Hale Ratma, that one was,
Oh, yeah,
oh my
that's the
god.
best. That's the
That's the best one in the franchise for me, and
I
so I just think it's gonna be really hard to top it at this point.
but
So
I actually have another probably unpopular opinion, and you're gonna be shocked by this. I thought 99 was better than this.
you did?
hmm I did. And not the framing of it, I loved it. I loved how it was an old like 80s broadcast and all that sort of stuff. But
The
I
kinda
didn't.
newsy, stationy kinda thing?
Yeah, I like that. I just didn't like the segments of the individual episodes as much as I even with the like overload of comedy in 99, I think I like that better, dare I say.
Okay.
Yeah. Although I'd love to go back and see what I rated 99 because
I was
I
trying to
don't
remember what I
know,
rated it too.
and I'm afraid I'm gonna not rate this one high enough based on that, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, speaking of, do you wanna do rating? You wanna jump into ratings?
Sure,
I'm sure
sure.
we have plenty to discuss in spoilers, so, um,
For me, this movie was just it was harder to stay interested in it. I thought some of the segments were so slow, and just slow and not really that exciting, or scary. Um, so I'm gonna give this a 4 tapes out of 10. Yeah, I kicked this one when it's down on the ground. Yeah, I just
dang.
not a huge fan. It's not a terrible. It's not the worst score I've given, but not a huge fan.
Yeah,
Based on your response, I can tell you rated it higher.
yes. But I'm also wondering, I don't remember what I gave, not Deadstream, I almost said Deadstream. I don't remember what I gave 99.
I don't know. Yeah,
So I'm gonna be like, I like this one more, and then
it's fine. It's this.
it is what it is, right? Um, yeah, so there are 2 segments in this that really sang to me that when I tell you I loved them,
Okay.
but that's it. Everything else was just kinda like, I guess, like, fine
Yeah.
or whatever, but that's so those 2 segments are carrying my
Okay.
takes, because if these segments had been less than or had not been in there, I'd probably be lower than you.
Okay.
Um, so I'm gonna give VHS 85, 7.5 tapes.
7.5. Oh, this is the biggest discrepancy I think we've had between the two of us
I think you're
and our
right,
scores in a
as
while,
far
at
as how
least.
far off we are. Yeah, I
Yep.
think you're right. Maybe
Interesting.
Dinosaur Project.
Maybe.
I loved that one, and you were like, mm. Um,
No, that one didn't work for me, Angel. Nope. Nope.
so fun.
Uh,
Yeah,
so,
yeah. So,
so one of the problems you had, if I remember, with 99
mhm.
was that some of the individual scenes you thought weren't necessarily original, and they were sort of repeating things that had been done in previous installments of VHS. So you must not have felt that with this. No.
No, and I'll tell you, even the weaker elements in this, or as far as like the segments that I didn't really care for as much, I think were still very unique and original. The originality and the concept is not at all the problem with this. The problems fall in the execution side of things for me because there's just some stuff that I just
Yeah.
um but yeah, I no, I as a whole I liked this one. I didn't hate this one. I wanted it to be better. I had
Yep.
high hopes because I am a fan of this franchise, and I know we've talked about before is like, if they keep making them, we'll watch them. But I just I'm glad that it was better than 99 for me,
Hmm.
because that would have been really hard for me to like get excited about the next one because I just but I'm really glad they went away from the comedy side of it. But yeah, I mean, I liked this one. The two segments in particular that I
Yeah.
loved,
Okay.
I think were so good that they made everything else come up a little bit.
I'm really curious to find out what you highly rated. And I would say when we talk about the segments, give me the title, maybe a little refresher on what
I
they're all
will.
about. I
I've got
just
it pulled up
lose
on my
track
phone.
of them all, and yeah.
No, I've got it pulled up on my phone because I never
uh,
remember the dang names. I always forget what they are.
what they're about. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, do you want to jump into spoilers?
Sure. Yeah. So I think that the initial segment, if we had stopped right after that, even though it sort of is left unfinished, initially, I would have I would have thought this was going to be one of the better found. It was one of the better openings
Loved it.
for a VHS film that
Mhm,
we've seen. I think,
mhm.
which is interesting since I thought generally the whole thing together wasn't as strong. But
Yeah.
the movie starts out, and maybe what's the title of the first little segment?
No wake.
No Wake. Yeah,
Mhm.
and so it's a group of friends on a camping trip of some kind, and they go to this lake and are doing some skiing on it. And I guess before they go on the water, one of them is filming and sees some dead animal or something on the side of the lake. He looks away, turns back, and the thing's gone, which
Which
should be a clue right there.
I did not even it didn't even register.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie to you. I was just like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. So, but I think that so there's something with this lake, and they're out on the water, and somebody starts as they're skiing, shooting at them from the beach, and so you think they are all killed, and then kind of like cuts away and comes back, and all of these people who had these really gruesome injuries, I would say really gruesome, but the special effects were very well done, um, are actually all still alive somehow, and they're all people that had been in the water. So, and we find out people who had not been in the water were not as fortunate. Um, so, what would you want to add to that?
I loved this one. You think
Yeah.
sort of where it's going. Not maybe necessarily like why they're being shot, but you think it's that simple. Oh, it's this crazy weird story about like, these people who go to have a good time and they're just all brutally murdered. Like I thought it was going to be more of like a survival thing, like the one guy that's like on the ground, like or not the
Yeah.
ground, but in the bottom of the boat. I was
Yep.
thinking it was going to be more of his like fight to survive and then he would like die at the end or something. So it took me, there was a little bit of a delayed I watched these after like a long day of real life. There was like a delay for me because I was like, wait, okay, so is she not? Okay, so her mouth is like hanging off. Like, and then the girl that got shot in the chest got out of the water, and I was like, oh,
Yeah. It was
like, what's
quite a
going on?
turnaround there. Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a minute to get it. I didn't get it at first, but then they get on land and they realize that this guy's brains coming out, like they're all fine, but the people who were on land that had not been in the water, like you said, were not.
Hmm.
They were the ones that died for real. Um,
Yeah. But it sort of ends like them saying, they're going to go find this
Who
person and
did
do the
this?
same thing to them. And to be honest, I thought that might have been the end of the episode, and
I mean, I
that's
did
just how
too.
it ended. But it does sort of really brilliantly, at least one time, tie into another episode. It is.
Yes.
So are those the two episodes that the same
Yes.
person directed? Okay, so there's a
Yeah.
later episode where weaves in brilliant, and yeah, those two together
Mm-hmm.
were, I think, really well done, really smart. I, but other
The
than that,
other one, I was trying to find the name of the other one. Okay. The other one is called Ambrosia.
yeah, yeah, I'm not sure about that entire segment, but at least I saw how it connected very well to
I
the
loved it.
beginning.
Yeah. Well, I thought I thought that one was kind of like, it was culty, right? So it's like you got to
Colton, yeah,
do this thing. And we saw the 7 in what I assume is blood written on their camper in the first one. And no,
right.
wait. And so I was like, okay, well, then as soon as she said, Ruth is the main character in this one, I think. Yeah. In the
Mhm.
second segment that goes into this one. And she's like, oh, the 7. And I was like,
I think I missed that when she said it. I
she's
didn't
talking
pick up
about
on
the
that
7.
right
They
away.
all have to kill 7 people. It's like
Yeah,
their
family tradition. Yeah,
whatever, right?
yeah.
And so I was like, when she said that, but then it started making me think, did I miss the number 7 and the one before that? Because I was like, are these like all connected? Like, where's this going? And then it talks about her killing her turn and she's like, well, I did it. So I did it on a videotape. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I
Yeah,
loved it. Like I felt so bamboozled and I loved it so much. And I thought it was wild. Like she gets shot and then she's like laying on the bed because the police raid their
yeah,
house. And yeah, I didn't even think about it. That kid comes up with the same water gun from the first one and
yeah.
shoots her with nothing connected for me until she said the 7 thing. And then I was like, wait a minute. But so then she wakes up
She's
and
not.
I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, that's
because they
so good.
because they had water from the lake in the first episode in the water gun, which they sprayed on her or sprayed into her mouth or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, they pulled up to the house the day of the
yeah,
party and
yeah.
gave it to a kid
That's what it was. Yeah,
and told the kid to go spray her or to go
yeah,
spray people with it. And he did.
yeah, yeah. So
And it's just like, oh,
that was very. Those two segments
loved those.
were very well done. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, this connecting story with Rory was the thing on the couch, the one they kept showing broken up throughout or whatever,
yes,
that
yeah, yes, yes.
turning into
Okay, yeah.
like different things.
That was confusing, and I didn't know. I don't think it was connected enough. Like it was,
I didn't
it
understand it. Like
didn't quite get there. Yeah,
I guess it's like, was it because okay, and I swear to you, I was paying attention. Like it was confusing mostly because like I just don't feel like it had any point. Like it didn't serve
right.
any purpose. Like, okay, it was like a weird little story, I guess, but like I
There's
was
just like,
not.
what would you call it? Like some being, some blob or something they
Yeah,
create?
is it alien? Is it something they made? Is it like a fungus that came out of somewhere? Like what is, I don't know.
But
Like and
it's
maybe
something that is like they're watching and observing in a lab, and it's slowly taking the form of everything around it. But yeah, you're right. It was just sort of disjointed and confusing more than anything.
and when it showed that one part where he had the face or they called it
Yeah,
Rory, so I say he, but when it had the face of that one guy that had never been in the room and they're like, "Oh, it's
right,
like a mimic." I'm like, "I've seen that before though."
right.
Like I've seen that done and I've seen it done better. So that was a huge miss for me. Huge
Yeah,
miss.
same. Yeah, not a fan
Um
of that. And that because it appeared so much, a lot of the movie took on that story. It's the Rory story. Yeah.
and that's the thing is like what was the other one that was kind of like viral? Well, no. Yeah. Viral?
Yes. Yep.
Viral didn't have a very great, so the connecting stories of VHS is sort of kind of what I have always felt made them unique.
Yes.
You know, this ability, because was it 94 was the one that I like 94's overlapping story. I even liked the overlap for 99.
I like the 99 one. Yeah.
I liked that one. I loved the overlap for the first two. I mean, they're
Absolutely.
good.
Yep.
Like Viral, I think was the only one that, other than this one, that I felt was like, but Viral
Viral was really bad, probably the worst. And then
in
this one was,
general, yeah.
yeah, this one was just sort of like confusing. They didn't. It's like they had it mostly there, and they just didn't connect all the dots fully.
Yeah. But this just felt like too random, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, it was.
Um,
What other stories did we have?
so the other one that I did like, that I only had like a few technical issues with this one, was called The God of Death.
Okay, remind me what God of Death is, because
That's
it's not.
the Mexican news station
Yes.
where there's like
Yes.
an
Yep.
earthquake or something, and then they
Yeah.
end up. This felt like Jerusalem. Did you think of that when you were
Very
watching it?
much. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
much. I actually I thought that was okay. That segment was
I thought
okay.
so too.
Uh, but again, not exactly sure the connection to everything else. I'm not really sure, unless the God of Death is supposed to be Rory. I don't know.
I
Making
genuinely
a
don't know.
big leap there. Yeah.
I think my only issues with this, and they're not big. I didn't hate this one. I did like it. I also, first of all, I love that it's not that it's got a different culture in it. I thought that was great. I
Yep.
loved like those components and the lore and stuff there. My biggest complaints were, it felt like a lot of nothing. Like there was a lot of
Running
the
around.
earthquake
Yeah.
happens or whatever happens, and I was like, oh, okay, where's this going? And then it's a lot of yelling and just chaos, but like not horror chaos, just like moving around
Well,
debris chaos.
they tried to be funny at times in this too. There were
Yeah,
moments with
it
like the
missed
guy
me.
who was filming, and
Yeah,
it was like really out of place. I felt like, considering
it
what was
missed me
happening,
completely. Yes,
right? You know what I mean?
totally agree. Yep.
Like juvenile sort of jokes, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but I thought, like, yeah, the coolest part was the lore, was,
Those last like what, 5 minutes or
yes,
something?
that was really, really
That
well
was
done.
good.
Yeah, yeah,
And the
but it
and
was
the
super chaotic, and it went on forever.
It took a long time for anything of any
Yep,
significance to happen. And it would have been cool if they were like seeing and hearing things as they were moving, and they really weren't. There's like a couple things that were small that happened, but overall it was just a lot of like too much. But okay, because the thing is, like, in found footage, we're used to a lot of build up before we get to the chaos. So formula wise, this fits the bill. The
yep,
problem is that they're shorts. So in shorts, for
yep,
me personally, I'm looking for quick burns. Like I'm looking for things that are going to move forward at a pace that's, makes sense for a short. And
yep,
this was it, like you said. I mean, it just went on for too long. But I
yep.
love the ending. I love the look of the God thing that comes out. I thought
So
that was
cool. That was
wicked.
very cool. Yep,
The gore was really good. The scene where she undresses and she goes in front of it and she's doing I thought all of that was well
yep,
acted and looked like made sense, and I was good
yep.
with all of that. Um the scene, what does she take? His heart? What does she take out? She takes something. Is it a heart?
I don't even remember what it is.
There's some gore
Yeah,
going on where there's
yeah.
something I loved all of that. I thought all of that was, I think that this was shot really well. I just would have liked to have
Oh, yeah.
seen more spooky stuff in between.
Its biggest problem was the problem for the entire VHS movie is that the pacing was all wrong
Yeah.
for the entire movie, but this scene is just sort of
Yeah.
very emblematic of the problem of the whole film. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um and then the last segment is called oh no, there's two segments. Uh
jeez.
This one is called Techno God, but it's TKNOGD. This is directed by Natasha Kermani. This is the one where the performance artist gets on stage and does headset, the
Oh yeah,
VR looking thing.
yeah. Cool concept,
Cool concept.
but that's pretty much it. Like it felt very again. How connected were all these gods or creatures? Was it supposed to be Rory again infecting or whatever that being is, infecting this VR on this, and like this person didn't expect that to happen, and Rory was taking the form of all of these different gods. I don't know, but the fact that we're sitting here saying, like, trying to analyze this means they didn't connect it enough. Didn't spell it out enough for us, so it was confusing.
And I think for me, if you even removed the Rory element, you just looked at this by itself in its own, I think it is a cool concept, but I think again, it's things I've seen before. As
Yep.
far as like, you know what it kind of reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of like maybe if it was trying to pay like some love to one of my favorite movies from the 80s, which is Poltergeist. It was very like
See that?
slightly in a newer age, like in the virtual, I don't know. First of all, the performance art stuff like that makes me super cringe in general. It makes me very uncomfortable. It's not my cup of tea. I'm not going to be snapping in the audience or whatever. It's not my thing. And so I was already bothered. Like going into it, I was already
Yeah.
like, ugh, and then
Yeah.
it was so abrupt. Now, what I can say is the same thing we've been saying about the others. The gore in this looks great. It looks very realistic. I was fine with that. But it was quick at least, but it just didn't hit anything for me.
It wasn't like a long segment like the others, but for me, it was more like when it was done, I was like, and does that connect to anything? I'm not sure. I think maybe it does,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Yeah.
And that takes us to the last one before we wrap up, called
Yep.
Dream Kill.
Kill.
That's the one with the like overly faked goth kid that
Okay.
had
Yep.
with the tapes.
Yes. Yep.
That should have been the overlapping story. I will say that.
That would have been a lot better. Yep.
They should have used that storyline as the overlap and ended with it. That would have been, I think, much better structurally speaking. I didn't like this one either.
I think by the time we got there, I was like already just checked out of this. Like I was so, I don't know. I was just the whole film. I was already
Yeah.
done by the time I got to this point.
Yeah. I think it's such a it's such a basic concept. Oh, I'm dreaming of these things. I think it's very basic in that regard. So in order to pull something like this basic concept off, you've got to do something really different with it. And I just didn't. The
Yeah.
slasher stuff was good, but I think I think the kid really just got under my skin. Like I think I did not like
How so? How so?
like first of all, I didn't think he was a very good actor.
No.
And I think that you need someone in that role that's going to convince you of these things. I also, and this is going to sound so like when I tell you this is so nitpicky, it's so nitpicky. I was a weird kid in high school. Adults made fun of me. They called me goth. I wasn't goth. I was like the furthest thing from goth that you. I had like a wallet chain and like skater shoes, but I was a goth. You know what I mean? So like,
Right.
I felt like they should have just made this like an average looking kid instead of trying to make this kid overly goth. Like, oh, he's weird. He has dreams about death. Like, stop. Like, I'm so like, I hated that narrative. I was like, that really bothered me. They should have just made it some rich punk ass kid and just been like, that would have made more sense to me. The tie-in with the dad, I hated. I thought that wasn't a good storyline concept. Like,
No.
I did like some of the like I liked it, kind of the way it ended, I thought was good, where he's like, well, I've already seen how this ends. Like I thought that was kind of nice, but the delivery on it was a little underwhelming. Like it could have had some emphasis,
Yep.
some like punch to it, hated that they made him goth. Like I hated it so much, but it really kind of blinded me on everything else. But yeah.
Yeah. I
What
don't know.
were your thoughts on this one?
I don't know. It wasn't the work. I like honestly, like I just was done by the time we got to him, and I feel like the thing with Dreams is that it's one of the most, you know, commonly seen thing in horror. You can't. It's easy to not do it right, and I don't know. Um, I didn't like this one, but it was not my. I didn't dislike it the most. I really um my biggest problem with this film is how everything is connected, and honestly, the Rory thing. Like, I
Yeah,
even sitting here was like, is that part of this? Is that connected to this goth kid? Like,
because yeah, yeah,
I don't know. Is that what's does that have something to do with these dreams? Is that good? And so my brain was going there with everything. Everything I was trying to connect myself, and I couldn't figure it out.
yeah.
So
Because in all of the other films, the overlapping story connects the stories in between, and there's a reason for them to have been like, I mean, even in the first one, they're all tapes that are found in the same house. Like there's a
yeah.
connection, and this didn't establish that. If they had made Rory change into the goth kid,
Hmm.
I could have gone for that. But I think
And
I
that's where
think
I thought it was going, or like that
yeah,
Rory's gonna
something.
be in the dream. Yeah.
And then he just turned into a monster and killed everybody in the facility, right? Like that's what happened.
Yes. So I
Didn't
don't
like
know. Nope, not a huge fan. So I would love it. I would love to hear like an explanation of what this all is.
what did we miss?
Was everything actually supposed to be connected? And if so, how?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because
So
I would assume it is supposed to be connected because they
they
typically
normally
are.
connect in some way. That's true.
But so like,
Yeah.
but some of these, and that segment is one I can't even like. At least the virtual reality segment, I can make a leap and say I think this is how it's
True.
connected. But this last segment, it might be as far as like all of these segments, I can explain the least if or how it's connected to anything else.
Yeah.
Can you? No.
No.
So
So
yeah,
No
that's a
Way and
fail.
Ambrosia were my two favorites. And I also liked those are the ones that connected. And then I also really liked God of Death.
Yeah, I like that one. I would say I kind of think of the other two almost like as one segment that was split
Sure.
into two.
Yeah, because
And
they've never
so
done that before that I can remember, unless I'm
I
just
don't
like
think so.
where they've taken two and they've been the same creator and they've connected like that. Don't
Yeah,
get me wrong, I'm not complaining about it. It was the strongest point, and those and God of Death are the reason I gave this a 7.5.
yeah.
Because
Uh,
the rest of it was super weak, and
I
I don't
will
know.
say that God of Death, it felt like a lot of other segments in some other VHS films. I don't know what it was about it, but it felt sort of familiar. Not a bad way, but like
Yeah,
um, I did really like that too.
I
If
like
you
that.
with just those three segments, you have a really good film. Um,
Yeah,
but again, it wouldn't have been connected fully. And I think the biggest failing was the Rory stuff because they featured it so much off and
yeah,
on.
yeah. It's
It's
true.
like a lot of times in a VHS movie, you have like one really bad part, right? And it doesn't matter because you
The
kind of
rest are
get past it. The
outstanding.
rest is good, or you
Mhm,
can at least see how everything connects, and you just sort
mhm.
of like, okay, whatever. Just like if you read, an anthology or horror anthology or
Yeah,
whatever, there's going to be a dud or
exactly.
two in there, but or
Yeah,
sometimes there are, but
yeah,
that doesn't mean the rest isn't the collection isn't really good. And I feel like You know, that's been my experience with a lot of the VHS movies, but not this one. Um,
yeah. Yeah, I
because
totally agree.
the underlying connection was weak, very weak.
Yeah. And I'm sure most people that are gonna watch this have already watched it, so
Mhm.
please
What do
fill
you
in the
think?
comments, like, let us know what you think, what you got out of it that we didn't, maybe something we missed. I do think this one's probably gonna warrant a second watch at some point, not right now, because 'cause I'm doing a new movie every day for the month and it's
Yeah,
killing me, but I,
definitely not now.
not right now, but I do think it's probably one I'm going to have to revisit. Unlike the others. I didn't feel that way about the others.
I might, but there's so much stuff out there I want to watch. Like,
Oh my god! And right now,
yeah,
like, there's like 4 things that come out tomorrow. Like,
right. I
so
know.
much
So
stuff. But yeah, let us know what you guys thought of 85. Tasha was already texting me about it, so she must have opinions too. But yeah, let us know what you thought of this one. Oh, what are we covering next week?
next week we are finally covering the very hard to track down the WNUF Halloween special.
Yeah, we tell you to watch it, but good luck.
You're not gonna be able to find it,
No.
or maybe you will.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's about it for this
We'll see
episode of
you then.
Found Footage Fridays. Yeah. So you guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Enjoy your weekend coming up. Have a good week, and Tom and I will see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.